the world. In this episode, we will be taking you to the beautiful country of Greece, and we will be making a Greek yogurt no-bake cheesecake.
I love cheesecake!
If you are ready to join us in this baking adventure, get your supplies ready and let's do it. Greece is located in Europe on the Mediterranean Sea. And although it's a small country, there's a lot of islands and a lot of coastline in Greece. In fact, there's over 6,000 islands. And people have been living there for a very long time. They have found evidence of people living in Greece for over 40,000 years. Now that's a really long time, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Here are the ingredients that we need to make our cheesecake. First, we have to make a crust for our cheesecake, so we'll do that by using graham crackers, butter, and sugar. We will put that into our little glass bowls, and once that is set, we will make our cream cheese filling. So, of course, a cream cheese filling needs to have cream cheese, our magic ingredients. So we've got cream cheese, we've got Greek yogurt, yummy, and then we've got some flavorings. So we'll do some honey, some lemon juice, some salt, and some pure vanilla extract. Finally, when our cheesecake is all set and ready to go, we will garnish it by adding some tart, delicious cherries. Now, if you don't have cherries at your house, it's okay. You can use any kind of berries. All of them will be delicious on cheesecake. Now, Devin, when you think about Greece, what do you think of?
The Greek gods?
Yes, the Greek gods and goddesses. We really can't make Greek cheesecake and talk about Greece without talking about the gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus. Now, the ancient Greeks believed that there were 12 gods and goddesses who lived on Mount Olympus, and that's a real place in Greece, kind of in the middle of the mainland. And these Greek gods and goddesses were all kinds of crazy interesting. They were always fighting with each other, and each of them had special jobs to do kind of in their world. Can you think of one of the Greek gods and their names?
Zeus?
Zeus, good way to start. Zeus was a very important dude. He was the king of all the gods, and he was a troublemaker. He was always doing silly things, getting himself into trouble, and even though he was the king, he was never sitting on a throne ruling the kingdom. He was always up to some kind of nonsense. I think about him as a grown-up little boy. What other gods or goddesses can you think of?
Hades?
Hades, yes. Ooh, he was creepy. Hades was the god of the underworld. Dun, dun, dun. Very creepy, very scary. We don't like him too much. Who else?
Aphrodite?
Aphrodite, I like her. She's the goddess of love. So whenever we see a Valentine's Day, we often see things about Aphrodite. She was always encouraging people to love each other. She was a cool girl. There was also Artemis. Artemis was the goddess of the hunt. Now, I know you like animals, so you probably don't like Artemis too much, right?
Yes.
Because she was always shooting deer and all kinds of animals. But Artemis was a very important goddess as well. So as we talk about Greece, we have to talk about the Greek gods and goddesses. And there's a lot of interesting stories out there which you can research to learn more about them. Okay, the first thing we need to do when we're making a cheesecake is to make our crust. So today we're using graham crackers. Graham crackers can be torn up into 4 different parts. So when we think about the country of Greece, we have to imagine Greece being 80% mountains. That's a lot of mountains. So go ahead and start breaking these up. Now, on the mainland of Greece, that's the part that's attached to the continent of Europe, we find a lot of those mountains. Most of it actually is mountains. And there's villages all throughout there. There's all kinds of interesting places to visit in Greece. So let's pretend that we're breaking up all of these mountains that we can find across the mainland of Greece, and we're putting them into our crust. Because if we're making a Greek cheesecake, we need to have a piece of Greece in it, don't you think?
Yes.
Yes. So for our crust, we need to have 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs. The way we make crumbs is by putting our graham crackers into our mixer, crunching them up. The other way you can do it is put it into a Ziploc bag and use a rolling pin to crush those up if you don't have a KitchenAid mixer. So the first thing we need to do is get these into the mixer, grind them up, and then measure to make sure that we have exactly 1.5 cups. Okay, Devin, go ahead and put all our graham crackers in here. Perfect. Awesome. Now, do you remember what language they speak in the country of Greece?
Greek.
Yes, they speak Greek. And every morning when we were in Greece, we would be greeted by the local people, whoever was around us as we were traveling, and they would say, Kalimera, which means good morning. You try it. Do you remember?
Kalimera.
Kalimera. You can try it at home too. Kalimera.
Kalimera.
See how it's crunching them all up into tiny little pieces?
Yes.
We need that to be able to make our crust. Now, just in case your mixer doesn't get all of your crumbs into the smallest pieces that you need, I'm going to show you a really fun trick. So you can put it here into a Ziploc bag. You see how we have kind of half the right kind of crumbs and some of them are not quite there yet? So we put it into a Ziploc bag, you get a little bit of air out, you get a rolling pin, lay this down like this. Oh, I gotta get more air out of my bag. There we go. And then you can use your rolling pin to kind of crush up those last pieces. How fun is that?
Very fun.
Go ahead and push it like this, and we're going to just go crush, crush, crush. Awesome. Look at that, Devin, you're doing it. Good job. Get those pieces right there at the end. There we are. That's what we need for our graham cracker crust. Okay, so now we have 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs. Let's put that into our bowl, and then we will add the melted butter, which we've melted in the microwave, and some sugar. And when we combine all of those together, we get a crust. Great, Devin, pour that in. Good job. Now let's add the butter. Perfect. And the sugar. Those are the ingredients you need for a graham cracker crust. Easy peasy. That looks great. Now we're gonna mix all that together, incorporate it. Do you remember what the term incorporate means in baking?
Let them meet each other.
Meet each other, get all connected. So we're gonna turn this on and let those get connected. Okay, so our graham cracker crust is done. Look at this.
Yes.
So yummy. I just want to eat it with a spoon.
Yeah.
Not a good idea. So I'm going to give you 3 of these ramekins. Now, in baking a little dish like this, we sometimes use as a bowl, for example, when we use it for our ingredients, but it's also called a ramekin, which you can use to eat your dessert. So we are going to use it and make mini cheesecakes so that when we serve it to our family, everyone has their own. How fun is that?
Fun.
Okay, so we are going to spoon our crumb, just about a spoonful each. There we are, into our dish. And we're gonna press it down nice and firm. And that's how we're making our crust. So we just press it down like this all the way around the edges. And that's how our graham crust is made. Doesn't it smell so yummy?
Yeah.
You know what? Butter is such an important ingredient in baking. And also cheese. We do a lot of cheese in our baking. Greece is actually the first place in the entire world to ever make cheese.
Really?
From what they know of recorded history. And it's also the first place in history that we know of a cheesecake being made, which is why cheesecake is so well known in Greece and something that people often think of the country when they think of cheesecake. Every country in the world has a capital city. So in America, our capital city is Washington, D.C. Do you remember, Devin, what is the capital of Greece?
Athens?
Yes, Athens. And Athens is named after an important Greek goddess. Which one was that?
Athena?
Yes, she is the goddess of wisdom. Now, when people think about the country of Greece, they often think about wisdom and 3 very important philosophers who shaped history. Devin, who is one of the 3 important philosophers from ancient Greece?
Plato?
Plato, he was one of them. The father of philosophy in ancient Greece is called Socrates. And he had an interesting way of teaching. He would teach by asking lots of questions. So he didn't necessarily think, oh, I'm going to teach everybody about this thing today. He just would ask really tough, kind of provoking questions, get people a little frustrated, and in that process he would say, but what about this? And what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And that's called the Socratic method of teaching, which comes from his name, Socrates. So after him, he had a student called Plato, and Plato, everyone's heard of Plato. There's actually something called Plato's Lost City, which is, they think maybe a real city, but maybe it was pretend, maybe he made it up just to teach his lesson. But he believed that there was this city in the middle of what they think is now Greece, and it somehow sunk into the ocean because of a disaster and was never found again. So people still go to Greece and go scuba diving, and they go down to the bottom of the water around Greece looking for Plato's lost city. Plato's biggest achievement in his life was to write something called the Republic, which was really an idea about government, and it's so much of what our government is in America today and many governments around the world. Since we're talking about Athens, where those cool philosophers lived, we have to talk about the ancient agora. The word agora in the Greek language means a marketplace. It's a place where people would meet together, and a lot of our cities in America and Europe around the world will have a kind of a central downtown area where there's shops and restaurants and cafes. So we went to the ancient agora in Athens, and we could imagine these philosophers walking around, talking to their friends, challenging the authorities of the city. So if we imagine that this is the ancient agora, and we have different philosophers, and we have street vendors, and we have different shops, and everyone's kind of here at the marketplace chatting to each other about life and imagining the perfect society. People call ancient Greece the cradle of the Western civilization. Western civilization is how our world is today, and it's the way that we think and the way that we have our government, the way that we interact with people, and this is where it was all started. People were thinking and imagining and dreaming what the world that we could create that would make more sense than the world they knew, and this is what they were imagining. It's time to make the filling of our cheesecake. We've got our crust in the fridge ready to go, and now we need to make our filling. So let's put our cream cheese into our bowl and get making our filling for our cheesecake. Do you remember in the city of Athens, way up high on top of a limestone mountain is a very special, very sacred place? What is it called?
Acropolis.
The Acropolis. The Acropolis is this beautiful rock right in the middle of the city, and on top of it they built a very important building called the Parthenon. The Parthenon was many things over time. One of them, it was a temple. At one time it was a church. At one time it was even a place where soldiers slept, and it has been through so much. It's been through earthquakes and wars and so many things, but it has stood the test of time. Now let's add our Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is so yummy. And the day that we visited the Acropolis and we explored the Parthenon, at the end of it we were so hot and sweaty, and we went to a Greek yogurt shop and we got all of this delicious yogurt, and the Greeks love to put Greek yogurt with toppings. So they put fruit or honey or syrup or all kinds of things, and they mix it together and eat it almost like an ice cream. It's so, so good.
My favorite was eating strawberries and honey.
With your Greek yogurt?
Yes.
Yes, great combination. And we had a chance to visit the Acropolis Museum, and we had a tour from the head of archaeology who's in charge of preserving all of that history that lives on that mountain of the Acropolis. And he showed us the friezes from the Parthenon that are still there. Now, a lot of them are missing because they've been stolen over time by lots of countries who went to Greece, who saw the beauty. Imagine that this is a frieze from the Parthenon, and people saw it and they said, "Oh, it's so beautiful, it's so wonderful, I want to take some home." And they put it on their ships and they sailed across the sea, and they keep them in museums. Is that a good thing?
No.
No! I think it belongs back in Greece. But that's another story. Let's go ahead and add our flavoring to our cheesecake. We're gonna start with our honey. Grab the honey, this one here, and pour it in there. I know honey takes a long time to come out, so we'll go ahead and get that started. Devin, when we taste honey now, we always think of Greece and the hot summer days that we spent in the islands and going to all these little villages, and each kind of honey has a different flavor. And a lot of the areas of Greece have different flavors to their honey. What was your favorite kind of honey that you tasted?
Orange blossom.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. We loved it. So, so good. Next, we're going to add some salt. And salt is something that's very important in baking, and even though this is a sweet dessert, we always want to add a pinch of salt, which just helps to bring out all the flavors. And they say that it's good luck to take a pinch of salt and throw it over your left shoulder. You want to try? Yeah. No, that's your right shoulder. Put it over your left shoulder. There we go. Yes, that's for good luck. All right. Now, in Greece, go ahead and put that in here. In Greece, they do something else for good luck, and it has to do with plates. Do you remember what they do?
They smash plates.
Yes, and what is the word that they say when they smash plates?
Opa.
Opa! So they believe that if you take a plate and you throw it onto the ground, especially during a wedding or something like that, and you smash it on the ground, throw it on the ground, and it smashes into a bunch of pieces, and they say, Opa! You wanna try? I'm just kidding. We're not gonna throw our plate onto the ground, but in Greece we sure did, didn't we? Okay, let's put in our vanilla extract. Go ahead and put this in. Always a staple with baking. Great. And the final ingredients we have is lemon. To get lemon juice out of a lemon, get the most out of your lemon juice, we need to put it onto a board or a hard surface and roll it. Go ahead and try that. Roll that. It kind of wakes up the lemon, gets all the juices flowing so that when we cut it and we squeeze it, we're going to get as much juice out of it as we possibly can. Great, our lemon is ready to go. Let's cut it in half and then we'll squeeze it into our cheesecake. Kids, don't do this at home. Mom and Dad need to help you with this part. Whenever there's a knife involved, you need to have a parent around, okay? So you go ahead and squeeze that into our bowl and I will squeeze my half. And we'll try to get as much wonderful lemon juice out as possible. This creates a bit of that tangy, sour flavor, which tastes so good in desserts. You always need to have that balance of flavors. There we go. Looks great.
Go.
Good. I think it's time to mix up our cheesecake. Let's go ahead and get it in here and get it started. Okay, it's getting it all incorporated there, making a nice, wonderful, delicious cheesecake. Do you remember what we put in here? Yogurt, cream cheese, sugar, you got it. It's looking really good. We want it to be all very nice and smooth, which means you have to give it a few minutes in there. So our cheesecake has been all mixed together, and now it's time to get our cheesecake crusts out of the fridge, and we'll start filling the cheesecake into the crust.
Yes.
Did you know that Greece is also home to the Olympics? So cool! If you like watching the Olympics as much as we do, then that's a really fun fact. Every time the Olympics happen in the world, the flame starts from Olympia, which is a small town on a peninsula of Greece called the Peloponnese. Now, Devin, do you remember what the Olympic athletes would win if they won in their event?
An olive crown?
An olive branch crown, that's right. They would take pieces from the olive tree, which is really important in Greece, and they would form it into a crown, and they would be given that as a thank you. And when they returned home to their city-states as the champion in their sport, they were given so many honors. They got the best seat in the theater, they got all kinds of food and meals made for them. It was kind of a big deal to be an Olympic athlete. Do you have a favorite Olympic athlete today?
Simone Biles.
Oh my goodness, the gymnast. Great choice. She is such a cool Olympic athlete. So every time the Olympics start, there is a flame that is lit in Olympia, and it travels around the world to its final place where the Olympic Games are held, and then that flame is lit and the Olympic Games begin. Amazing! Back in Athens, across the country of Greece, we also visited a more modern Olympic stadium. And this one was very cool because it's the only stadium in the world that's made entirely of marble.
Yes.
And in the more modern times, they used to compete there. It used to be a horse track. I know you love horses, and they used to race horses there before it became a place where they competed in the Olympics. And there at the stadium, they even have special thrones for the important people like the senator or a king or a queen who would sit there to watch the Olympic Games. Our cheesecake filling is done and it looks delicious. I'm sure it tastes delicious. Would you like to taste?
Yes.
Take a little, we have to taste what we're working with, right? Good?
Delicious.
Sweet, delicious. Okay, good. So we've got these out of the fridge. These were sitting there for an hour, so now you can turn them upside down, but the crust is hard. So it's ready to be filled. We're going to put our cream cheese cheesecake mixture into the top of the crust. We're gonna let that set for a whole day. And then tomorrow morning, when it's done, we'll be able to decorate it with our cherry. It's kind of a long process to make cheesecake, but it's so worth it. Okay, so we are going to fill our crusts. what does this color of this crust remind you of in Greece? It reminds me of something specific.
The donkeys in Santorini.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too. So there is this amazing island in Greece that most people know about if you've ever been there, and it's called Santorini. Do you remember how Santorini was formed a long time ago?
By a volcano?
Exactly. 3,600 years ago, there was a huge volcano that happened in that part of the Mediterranean Sea, and it caused a tsunami, which is a huge wave. And that combination just created this incredible island formation. And so it's this tiny little island, and people come there from all over the world because it is so beautiful. And there in Santorini, it's on top of, it's just a really steep climb to get from the ocean level to the top where the village is. The village there is called Ia, and people want to go there and see these beautiful white houses with the blue top domes. It's absolutely magical. Some people will walk in the hot sun to the top, right, to get to Ia. Other people like to take donkeys, so we had to try. You rent these donkeys at the bottom of the mountain, and you ride them up all these hundreds and hundreds of steps to the top. And when you get there, you are greeted with just the most incredible view. White houses, blue domes, churches, and what complements all of that is a beautiful pink flower called bougainvillea. We've got some bougainvillea here today. We wanted to show everyone, right? And this kind of flower is gracing the white cave-like houses that are all over Greece. What do you think of this flower? Is it so pretty?
Yes.
I think the color is just magical. Let's take our cream cheese filling and put it into our bowls. Smooth it over the top of your crust. Make it gorgeous. And just fill it up about to there-ish, kind of half and half, until we see how much filling we have for our 6 dishes, okay? Try not to get too much on the outside of it, but if you do make a mistake, no problem. We can always just wipe it off at the end. So here we go. How you doing there?
Good.
Keep filling it up. Okay, let's get all 6 of these beautiful little mini cheesecakes filled up. We've got plenty of filling. You know, one of my favorite islands in Greece is Milos Island, and when I look at the white of this cheesecake, I think of the most special place in Milos, which is called Serikiniko.
Serikiniko.
Right, and Serikiniko has these amazing beach lines that are these white rocks, and it looks almost like being on the surface of the moon, and so they call it a moonscape. So you walk and you walk and you walk, and these rocks just go on for, it feels like forever, but you can go up and over the sides, and you can see this beautiful green-blue sea down below. You can swim, and these little pools all around. It's just absolutely magic, don't you think?
Yes.
Now that we're done with our cheesecakes, we are going to put them in the fridge for a whole day. Can you believe it? A whole day! And then tomorrow morning, we would be able to take these out, but because we don't want to wait a whole day and because we want to finish up, let's put them in the freezer. It's a little cheat. And just in about an hour, we'll see if they're set hard enough for us to decorate. What do you think?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay, so it's been an hour since we put our cheesecakes into the refrigerator, and so that we don't have to wait all the way until tomorrow morning, we thought we'd just pull them out, even though they're not 100% set, just to show you how you can garnish it tomorrow when your cheesecake is done. So right now, our cheesecake is a little wobbly. You can see that, it's not gonna pour right out, but it's also not firm. Cheesecake is finished when you could turn it upside down and it won't fall out, just like we did with the crust, right? Then you'll know that it's already done. We're going to garnish it now with some tart, delicious cherries. Cherries are really good in the summertime because they're fresh, they're in season, and it's always best to eat fruit and to garnish our desserts with fruit that is in season. So depending on where you are in the world, choose fruit that's in season for you. So let's take a couple of cherries and very carefully place them just right on top of our cheesecake in a decorative fashion. Look for the best side of the cherry, and then we can place it just so. Of course, when your cheesecake is fully hardened, they're going to not sink down like ours are a little bit, but that's totally cool. And we like to have the stems facing up so that we can see all of that beautiful, fresh goodness. Thank you for joining us today for Taste the World. We hope you enjoy your wonderful Greek cheesecake. As they say in Greece, Antiosas. Goodbye.